We are back again for another episode of Preacher's Corner. I am so excited for you to be here. Scorpio is so excited for you to be here. Today's special guest, you are going to be seeing her a lot more often. And so, get ready for another episode in 3, 2, 1. Let's go. What's up, everybody? We are back for another episode of Preacher's Corner. We got my man Scorpio. What is up, Scorpio?
Another good day to do this.
Another episode. I don't even like we said last episode. I'm not even gonna begin like saying what number this is. I've lost count. We're just on another. Welcome to, in the words of Dr. Dre, welcome to the next episode. So,
another one.
Another one. Well, that was DJ Khaled. Another one. So, well, welcome to another one. We should get like one of those voice. I'll get like a voice online, and I'll be like, "Welcome back to," and they'll say another one.
We said we needed that for like clapping and other things. I'm gonna do that.
We do. I have sound effects on my computer, so I'll just be I'd be like, everybody, here we go. We won't hear anything, but in the edit, you will. Just pretend you hear clapping. Pretend you hear clapping. So, we are back. I am so happy. We have another guest. We actually have two people on. We got an extra. Someone decided to jump on the train as it was moving, and we let him on. So, we made sure to grab him so he didn't fall off the train when he was jumping on. So, first we'll introduce Scorpio's guest, and then we'll introduce the guest of honor. So, Scorpio, do you want to introduce your guest for us?
Well, all right. This is one of my close friends that I like to welcome my friend Scotty. Would you like to tell, tell a little bit about yourself, Scotty?
Yeah, my name is Scotty. I started doing drugs since I was 13. I got hooked on meth for a while, and I'm in rehab for it. And I'm currently at the Jones house with Kyle. Pretty much it.
Well, thank you for coming.
Right.
We're glad you're here.
Killing it over Jones house.
What'd you say?
Killing it over here. Doing great things. Yeah. Big things.
I was like, what is he saying? But now, drum roll, please. I hear it. It'll be there.
I hear it.
You hear it? We have another one. The 333s drops for us. Missffit. What's up, Missffit? How you doing?
I'm all right. How you doing?
We are doing. I'm doing pretty good. Look, she asked what I'm usually asking. I'm doing pretty good. I just signed some paperwork today and got a new job working as a peer advocate. So I'm pretty ecstatic right now. I start Monday. So by the time this episode drops, I will be working, and I'm hopefully getting, with my first check, I'll get like a $500 beater car so I can get from point A to point B. So I'm starting to stack up and moving on up.
Congratulations, man.
I'm excited. So, Kyle or Scorpio, how you doing today? Are you frozen? I think he's frozen. Let it go, let it go. We'll come back to him. So, I'm gonna ask both of you guys, since you guys are both new to the show. We start this out with some interesting facts so that everybody can get to know us, and before we dive into the deep stuff. So we'll start with Scotty, and then we'll go to Missffit. Scotty, what are 3 interesting facts about yourself? Scotty, can you hear me?
I'm frozen.
Missffit, what are 3 interesting facts about yourself? Then we'll go back to Scotty.
Okay. For one, I'm 37 years old, and I've been addicted to drugs for 32 of those 37 years. I was 5 years old when I was first introduced to opiates. I had a mother who was very into pushing the doctor's appointments, so that I would get my medication and I'd take half, and then she'd take half. So from a very young age, I didn't even realize I had a problem, but it was a very, very early age that it started. Another interesting fact about me is that during the pandemic, I began a company called One for All, and I would do pro bono work, helping people get their unemployment and certain other things underway. I think I generated over $2.3 million for people during that time.
Wow.
Which led to the third interesting fact. Also, my second company, which was called All for One. And that was a secondary business that was intended to keep my ex out of my business, but really grew into something a lot bigger than that. And now I'm working on using those 2 businesses to incorporate into my nonprofit, which is going to be called Someplace Like Home, so that people like us can come here when we're stressed out, put up our feet, have a cup of coffee, get together, feel like human beings. Because just because we are addicts doesn't mean we are not people.
Facts.
And so,
I can see it right now. Somewhere like home on Preacher's Corner.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That just has a ring to it. And I like that. All for one and one for all. Oh, 3 Musketeers.
Yeah. The one for all was originally because I felt like one person doing so much for other people. But it's spelled WON because it's victory for all people. We may have, he died for one and one for all.
Yeah. That's awesome. Man, we could end the show on that, but we aren't.
Yeah, I froze.
You're good. All right. So now that Scotty is unfrozen from carbonite like Han Solo, look at me just dropping them tonight.
I know.
All right, wow. Scotty.
Yeah.
What are 3 interesting facts about yourself?
One, I'm ambitious. I never stop giving up, and I'm really religious, should I say?
Okay, I like those. Ambitious, never stop giving up, and religious. I like it. All right. So now the next question, just to set us up for what's to come. Well, you, Missffit, already said it.
And
what's that?
I was a monk too.
Get the frick out of here. That's interesting. that's interesting. I want to hear more about that. Missffit, so you already told us you were in addiction for how long? Because you said you started when you were 5.
Yes, 32 years I've been in addiction. And I'm one of those phase addicts. It was never just one particular something. I phased from opiates into alcohol, into methamphetamine, and I found myself there.
That's awesome. Not awesome that you were in addiction, but you know what I mean. Let me be more specific in my referring to awesomeness. So, how long?
Addiction.
Well, when we start doing things out of addiction, it does make it awesome because now we start healing stuff that wouldn't have been healed if we never were in.
Exactly.
And isn't that way to go in recovery? Isn't that what that means?
What you said?
Isn't that way to go in recovery? Like way to go recovery, not way to go addiction.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
recovery wouldn't happen if you didn't have the addiction.
So we have to
I
be
see what the-
pain that
They-
causes us change.
They intersect. It's just like you can never know happiness unless you know pain.
which is true.
Look at
You're
see,
a-
man. I'm on a roll tonight. I need to box this up and keep
First time for everything. Oh,
Okay.
you know what? I can easily block people on this. All right, so I love this podcast. See, and you can tell, like, just for even people listening, they probably have seen, like, over the episodes, we have become more like it not more gelling, like, but it's more like relaxed. We're not like, so today we are.
Yeah.
It's an actual podcast. How many podcasts?
My guy.
How many podcasts do you see? How many podcasts do you see online where they're talking and they don't even hit the topic for a little bit, and you're sitting there like, yo, it's like 30 minutes in. Where are you guys?
Just enjoying recovery.
Absolutely. We recover. We do recover. And we do have fun while we do it. And we have fun while we do it. Especially me. Fun.
I like that.
But anyways. So I wanna hear about Scott being a monk and how now did your addiction happen like before you were a monk or after?
Yeah, I was a monk when I was young. Cause in my culture, when somebody passed away, my father passed away, and that's when I became a monk. I became a monk when I was 8 years old until I was 12.
Wow. So my question, like, because I know how a student pastor goes from being a student pastor to getting addicted to crack. How do you go from being a monk to now being addicted? Not now, but then being addicted to meth. Like, what's that path? What happened on that path to get you to that point?
I was sexually abused when I was young.
Okay.
Because I learned to be drug use.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah,
So, how has that almost given you, like, because I know with like Scorpio and I, our addiction that almost led us to this point where we're like, screw addiction, like screw everything about it, like, and we're gonna make sure like this thing gets like people know what's going on. Has that almost like driven you in recovery to be like everything you went through with the trauma from that and then the addiction, has that almost given you like that extra push through recovery?
Not now. I'm seeing a therapist now because I just started.
Okay.
So.
It takes time.
Yeah.
It takes time, but you know, once you get through it, you'd be surprised where the strength comes from, bro.
Absolutely. But hey, I'm just meeting you tonight. But yo, anyone here on Preacher's Corner, anyone associated with Scorpio, is a brother to me. So a brother and sister to me. So I if you need anything, Scorpio knows where to find me. So just let me know if you need anything. Right. I got you. We got you. We got this. So thanks for that. Thanks for I'm sure it's not easy to tell people some of the stuff we tell them. So thank you for being transparent with us. And like I said, we got you. You're not alone. So Missffit.
Yes.
You are now on the hot seat. So I want to hear like usually like we did this in the beginning, then we started going to like who were you and things like that. But you have such an interesting story in and of itself that I want tonight to really be dedicated to like how because since you told me, and I have stopped myself from asking because like I was like, nope, save it for the podcast. You need to hear it the first time, just like everybody else. How at 5 years old, like you gave me a brief like insight with your mom and things like that, but how at 5 years old? Because I know like my 5-year-old, he was worrying about watching Paw Patrol and throwing toys around the house. And when I was 5, I do too.
I just
like
got into Paw Patrol.
you just got into Paw Patrol?
Yes, I'm behind.
Which one's your favorite?
You're late to the game.
I'm so thrilled with all of it. I was like, cartoons are awesome.
Yo, Paw Patrol is amazing. Power Rangers, all of it. So how
now
like
Power Rangers, I remember.
Power Rangers is legit. So how at 5 years old do you get addicted to substances? Like it's 5.
So I've always had migraines my whole life. My mom would take me to the doctor. I would be screaming and crying. It took a while for them to figure out I was having these headaches. And it was only when I started to vomit and to pass out that they started to link it to my head, because a child can't really tell you what's going on.
Yeah.
And the second that they found out that it was a migraine situation, my mother pounced on that. She started hooking me up with neurology appointments and things like that. She would push for the strongest medication possible. Little did I know, though, it was because she had her own addiction that she was trying to feed. And so she would give me half my prescription and she would take the other half. And it doesn't take much to get a child addicted to hydrocodone or any of the other number of things that they had me on growing up. And so when one thing would stop working, she pushed for something stronger. And so they kept progressively ill for a lot of my childhood. All of my childhood, actually.
So how so you say your childhood, how long would you say your mother was just, I guess you could say, just feeding you these drugs?
When I got to about 14 or 15 and I decided I didn't want to do these drugs anymore because they were keeping me out of school and I was having a hard time having a social life, my mother started, to sort of whisper in my ear, like I had missed so much of a normal childhood that I would never be able to catch up with the kids in my grade. She encouraged me to stay at the private school I attended. And it even got worse the way that she would encourage this progressive addiction. And when I was 16 years old, I was a junior in high school. I graduated at 17. She went to her first rehab. And that was the first time that I ever tried to stop taking my medications. And the sickness that I went through was unbelievable. I'm telling you, I've never been so sick in my life. And so when she got out of rehab and came home, she sat me down and she said, "See, sweetheart, this is why you need these medications. This is why you need to be on these prescriptions." And so it continued on until I got pregnant. I graduated high school at 17. I got married very early. I was barely 18 when I got married. I got pregnant. And I thought that I was going through morning sickness when they took me off my medications. I thought that this was a normal part of pregnancy and that whole 9 yards, but it was terrible. And I felt like I was dying on a daily basis. And so my mother brought me over a box of red wine one day, and she said, "Look, I would never steer you wrong, And the doctor's already approved that you have a glass of wine every day while you're pregnant. That'll help with the tremors, that'll help with the whole 9 yards, and your blood pressure will come down. And so I double checked with the doctor, and the doctor said, yeah, with your high blood pressure, it's okay to have a glass of wine. But a glass of wine became a bottle of wine, became a box of wine.
And you were how old at this point?
I was 18. And I was pregnant for 4 years consecutively. And so I was drunk for 4 years consecutively. Right around the time that I had my fourth child, I started to see things. I would pull up to my house and I would see me hanging from the top story. And the best I could come up with was alcohol was not doing me well. And so I stopped drinking, and I again got very, very sick. And that's when my mother introduced me to methamphetamine. It was my mother and my sister together, actually. And I knew that they had even asked them to stop, you know. To me, that was a real drug, you know. And my mother told me, you know what, when you can put this down, then you can ask me to put this down. And she handed me my first hit of dope. And from there, it was a downhill spiral, you know. They say one is not enough and 1,000 is, wait, how they say it backwards?
Yep, I think that's it. One is not enough and 1,000's too much.
Yep.
No,
one is too much and 1,000. One is too much and 1,000's not enough. Yep.
Yeah. So once I started on that, it was I was probably 22 at the time, and up until July of this year, I had not found the strength to pull myself away from it. And so I'm just over 78 days sober now.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you. My children are grown now. That's all time I won't get back. But fortunately, when I went into rehab, all of my children. Now I tried to bounce around telling them I was going to a rehab because their father, my ex-husband, he doesn't like me very much, and he's always kind of told them that I've got problems, but I didn't want to cement that in their head, you know. So I was trying to dance around the rehab. Yeah. But one of the ladies that picked me up for rehab heard me kind of dancing around the subject, and she turned around and she said, "You better tell them children the truth." Now they heard her say that, so then I felt obligated. But it was the best thing I ever did, because opening up to my children and telling them I was going to rehab is the best thing that's happened for our relationship. And I'm very lucky to have that.
Yeah. Sometimes opening up and telling families, sometimes it can have a negative effect, but sometimes it can have a real positive effect. You know, opening up and, you know, with your family, sometimes it helps.
Yeah, nothing is worse than trying to keep up a lie and then trying to build on it.
I just think of my time in addiction, just for people that don't know, and I haven't fully gone into it even in the first episode. My wife and I split in May of last year, in May of 2023, and so I moved into my own apartment and started just trying to navigate life and trying to figure out now who is Antoine, outside of this marriage, and who is Antoine outside of being a father and everything like that, because now all of a sudden I was ripped away from like what I identified myself as. And so I eventually like got linked up with like people using drugs and things like that, and it was a slow like process because I didn't jump into it like right away. And so like then I started using, and by day I was doing my student pastor thing, and by night I was hanging out and smoking and stuff like that. And so like for a while I was able to like hold up this mask. And I think I said it in one of the episodes, it might have been the one we recorded a couple days ago, like I had this mask, and for what's crazy is one would think that the mask was the drug using and the mask was the living on the street, but the mask became the student pastor, and the real preacher, Antoine preacher, became like I can be truly who I am. Like I can let myself out, and I can let people know who I am because no one's judging me here. Like no one's sitting using together and judging each other.
You know, the thing is, we train ourselves to believe that this is our fold, right? When we're doing drugs, we're like,
absolutely.
These people know exactly what my struggle is like. They're not judging me. Yes, they are. Yes, they
absolutely.
are.
Absolutely.
They're judging you to make themselves feel better. Just like,
and I know that because I was judging everybody.
Right? So the thing is,
except for you, Scorpio. Except for you, wasn't judging you.
The thing is, when you have a
right.
When you have a superhero, say you have Superman, right? Superman is a great guy, does great things, has to pretend to be Clark Kent.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have like the Joker, who doesn't have to pretend to be anybody.
Not at all. Not at all.
And so we make ourselves comfortable with being the Joker so that we don't have to put up that mask once it falls off.
And that is how it became, because when I had the decision, when I came to the crossroad and I had student pastor in one hand and I had stay on the street and use in the other, I chose to stay on the street. Like most people would think, oh, like it's a logical choice to keep student pastor. That's the, like, you're making money, you're living a good life, like that's the logical choice. But like you said, and I think that's like now it makes sense. Like I was getting comfortable being the Joker. I was getting comfortable with being able to express myself and not hide who I was. And so why am I going to go back to this and hide how I feel? Because every time I went into the church, I was broken as hell, because here I am, a failed marriage. Like I'm sitting and talking to these students about like family and things like that when my whole family is destroyed. How am I spending time with all these students when I can't even spend time with my own two boys? Like, yeah. And so I think I became, like you said, more comfortable. I started becoming more comfortable with this Joker. And so when it came down to it, I was like, take off the mask, and then that is who I became. And then everything I did, and that's when the separation between like my family and stuff happened, because now you can't hide it. And so then eventually, like we keep saying, like eventually you ask for so much money from people start realizing like, okay, something's wrong. Like your car can't be out of gas this many times. So it is,
it's probably because you're smoking your gas money.
Facts, right? So eventually, even people, everybody starts realizing like, yo, there's there's a problem. Like you've got a problem. And so and it's because you're so comfortable. I like that you're so comfortable with being Joker now. So how growing up, what's that?
It's not like it was hard for me to put on that, you know, that Clark Kent facade. Like I still worked a lot of the time, and every time that it would get too hard, or every time that I almost got caught using, or every time, you know, then I would blame it on my migraines, like my mother used to do, you know. And that wields a certain level of sympathy, which just makes me a darker person, you know what I mean, like inside. Because the more you hear a lie, especially if it's coming out of your own mouth, the more you believe it.
Absolutely. So how, because you basically said throughout from 5 until now, like you were just constantly being your whole childhood, your whole teen life, like you were just being fed these drugs and stuff. And so how did that affect, like, because you couldn't have had a normal childhood going through all that.
I spent more time at home under my mom's arm than I did at school or participating in group events. I went to a private school because from kindergarten through 12th grade, they only had 40 students. And if you pay them $6,000 a year to go to school, they don't kick you out for missing days, you know?
Yeah.
So
they're like, you paid for it, miss as many days as you want.
Yes, exactly. As long as you pass these tests at the end of the year, we're gonna pass you. So
I should have went to a private school. So how would you say that affected, like looking back, how did that affect your childhood and how did that really, not your childhood, but how did your childhood and your teen years, not being able to really be a normal kid and experience everything a kid experienced, how did that affect you, one, in becoming an adult, and then two, when you started having your own kids?
Well, it did exactly what I think it was intended to do. It caused me to cling to my mother. It caused me to feel like there was only one person who would ever understand me, because the other kids, they were as vicious as any kids could be, you know. It led me to marry really early. The first person who ever, you know, opened a door for me or called me beautiful, I was like, oh, this has got to be it, you know.
Yeah.
I had no real world experience or anything like that, and it just kept me dependent upon the things that kept me close to the source of the bad substances. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
As a mother, though, it had the opposite effect. I was always so afraid that something about me was contagious, you know, because I'm a very influential person. People talk to me and they get excited about the things I'm excited about, and they do things that I do. And the last thing I wanted was for my children to do the things that I did or look up to me and want to be like me, because I didn't want them to know what that meant. And I didn't want them to know how bad that hurt. So I pulled away a lot, and I definitely refused to take my children to any kind of specialists or you know, my oldest daughter Zay, she had a Monopoly piece one time. She put it up her nose, and I couldn't figure out what that smell was. It smelled like death almost, and it was every time she would walk by me, I couldn't figure what it was, and if she hadn't taken another Monopoly piece and put it up her other that one, I would have never realized what was going on with her, because I was terrified to take her to a doctor. I was afraid that she was going to need a surgery or something like that. They were going to put her on medication that she couldn't handle. And I know what it's like to withdraw from those. I didn't want my baby going through any of that.
Yeah.
But it's still, in hindsight, was not a great idea for me to keep her from a doctor at that point, you know?
Yeah.
But on my drug, it made perfect sense.
Yeah. Do you think you having gone through the things you went through when you were a kid in your adolescence, do you think that caused you to be more protective of what your kids not only experienced, because you said there was a level of like, okay, well, I'm not going to send them to the hospital because I don't want this to happen. Do you think that even like, did you send them to school and things like that? And did it make you like, okay, because you see parents all the time who are extremely protective, but it almost feels like you would have been like, and not in a bad way, because you're just going off the experience you had, but like, so that they don't experience what I experienced, I'm going to be like extra protective.
Absolutely. And my ex-husband and I divorced when my kids were really young. And so I would go over to his house, and I got a little obsessive even. He married again, and even while he was married to the second woman, I would go to his house and clean his house to make sure that there was nothing for them to find, to make sure that there was no paraphernalia, to make sure that there was no inkling of anything that they could get their hands on. My ex-husband, I'm sure they love that. He's completely excommunicated me from his life now because of it, because, I got bad. I would go over and he'd have a party, and I'd go over and I'd clean up every beer can and every shot glass and every, not that I didn't drink myself at the time, but that if anything was going to be left for the kids to get, I couldn't have that, and it got pretty obsessive. It really did. Meanwhile, I was still going through my addiction full force and trying to keep it from my kids and my ex-husband and his wife. And, so I'd be gone 2 or 3 days and nobody would have any idea where I was. But when I came back, I would make sure I was straight and well-dressed and, ready to play Clark Kent again,
That's crazy. That's crazy. I can't imagine, like, in that, it's one thing to think like, okay, this is how your ex-husband and his wife thought, like, okay, here she comes all the time cleaning our house, like, in the frustration, but what's going through, like, to be, I'm trying to think of the word, to be in such it's almost like it seems like it's a frantic state. Like I have to make sure, like, anxiety, the anxiousness that comes with it. Like, oh my goodness, like, if my kids go over there, what could happen? Like, and then just I can't even imagine, like, how that, like, cause it's something that's technically out of your control, but now, but then you're putting it in your control when it's like, there's no, it's like, hello, this isn't your house.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there was one morning I went over to get my kids ready for school, and I went into the house. Now the house was unlocked, and I thought that was a terrible thing. In my mind, I'm going, if you're gonna leave the doors unlocked, people are gonna come in, and if you're not gonna figure that out with me, then it could be so much worse. And my ex-husband and his wife wake up, and I've made pancakes, and I've got all the kids dressed and ready for school. And I can imagine now, as an adult, like, beyond, like, just in the few months of, like, I get how that looks.
Oh, man. Can you, like, and that's, like, I look back on things I did when I was addicted, and I, like, it's not funny, but it's funny. Like, because, like, what were we thinking?
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine waking up in the morning and smelling like pancakes, and you're like, what the hell?
And then his wife doesn't. It's like
Then
the
you
kids
come
are
down
doing
and like, oh man, like, oh, the kids cooked us breakfast. Nope.
That's what you would think.
They're
Listen, you know, like thinking about it, like, wait a minute. The kids didn't cook us breakfast.
Oh,
But then you go to my
man.
house and you look in the cabinets, and there's not even pancake mix. There's no
Wow.
flour or baking soda.
See,
I've got my dope pipe and I've got my lighter. That's all that's in my cabinets.
see, but that's so like, see, but that how many times, like, because I just know for me, I was so focused on everybody else.
Exactly.
So focused on what everybody else was doing, making sure like you said, like I'm good. Now I'm judging you guys. Like, oh man, look at your house.
Yeah.
Look at your house. Then you go home like, oh man, my house is dirty as hell.
No, I would go home and be like, man, I should get some furniture.
She said dirty. I didn't even have anything to make dirty.
No, I mean, I had a nice little closet I lived in, and it had one like futon chair.
That sounds
was
a lot
good.
like my place on Emerson.
But I was mad about the
I was just about to say, like,
I had this Missffit.
conversation.
I had this place in Rochester, New York, and it was this tiny room, and I had a couch on one wall, and like I can't believe I had boxes piled high of all my stuff. It was terrible. It wasn't
bad at first. It was just
at first.
Yeah. You know what's funny is you can tell the addiction and how it progressed as living arrangement went. Because as your addiction got worse, so does your the way you live. Because as you get that into it, you stop really caring about how the things were in your room. You stop caring about how your things were set and things like that. And then next thing you know, you blink and boom, everything was just cluttered and destroyed, and you're just like, what the fuck? How do I live like this? Exactly. It's your hygiene. Like that's what they teach us that here. In recovery, especially, that's big here at the Jones House. They teach you that here. They teach you that's a big thing here, because when you're in recovery, when you're in your addiction, you forget that. You skip showers. It starts. I skip showers once a day. And I'll do it the next day, and then then once turns into 2 times, and then 2 times turns into I'll get to it when I get to it, and next thing you know, you go in weeks and months without taking showers, teeth. Shit your mama used to tell you to do on a daily basis, you're doing once a month, once a year type shit, and then you're wondering, but you still got the nerve to walk up to a girl and be like, "Hey, beautiful, nigga, please." Like, "Hey, beautiful, what?"
If she's like, you're like, "Hey, beautiful," she's like, "Nigga, you smell."
And then you wonder why she only trying to get into your pockets. Like, nigga, you would run too for nothing but your money too, nigga, if you fucking looked and smelled the way you smelled back in the day. You hand her $1. She's like, "Oh, thank you." Yeah, she's like, "Thanks for the." You hand her a 20, and she's looking at like, "Thanks." You're like, "Bitch, it's a 20." Yeah, but look where it came from.
It smells too.
It smells like you.
When she gets back on, because I think her screen froze as well. Or we just haven't. We need to play the Frozen song. Let it go, let it go.
Let it go. When I rise like the break of dawn. Let it go, let it go. That perfect girl that's gone. Here I stand in my light of day.
sorry everybody for that. Sorry I subjected you to that tragedy.
Personal moments tonight, everyone.
But when she comes back, I want to find out just how her, because we know how life was while she was in addiction. It seems like it was like anxiety and a lot of anxiety, and it's almost like that came from the years of when she was a kid, like that had to have been the source of the anxiety, always having to, because she said her mom had Munchausen syndrome, and so that like she had to have adopted that anxiety, and then it just carries over, and eventually like you have to be like, you know what, I'm going to be the place where it stops. And so that, it sounds like that's what she did, but we'll find out when she comes back. We'll find out when she comes back soon.
And a word from our sponsors.
A word from our sponsors right now.
Are you cold? Do you get cold? I mean, it is winter. Winter is coming. This isn't Game of Thrones, but winter is coming. It's getting colder out every day, and I don't have a hoodie, but if you don't have a hoodie, you could get a hoodie if you go on our swag shop. We've been talking about it for weeks. Go get a hoodie, go get a sweatshirt, go get something, and let them know this is what recovery looks like, bro. Go buy something. Peace. Back to the show. By the way, let them know that I said Joe. Now go buy something. Please. Go buy something.
We're back. Welcome back. Okay, we're back. So, you were telling us before the commercial. You were telling us about like just the time growing up and things like that.
Yeah.
And so how before we dive into like what life looks like now that you're on the other side of addiction, how did like addiction affect your relationships? How did it affect just you? Because from what it sounds like, you basically, up until now, the only way you could function was through some kind of substance. So like, I mean, it's not a normal thing to be on a substance from age 5 all the way until you're in your 30s. And so no one like can relate. And so I think it's interesting, not interesting, but I want to know what your mind was like going through that, because we know what it's like to just be a regular adult and deal with the different things as you're going from teenage to adult and the different life things that are happening and having to navigate without substances. Like how was it having to grow up and being addicted to these substances and having a family and trying to have a job and maintaining, like it must have been stressful as hell.
Stressful.
Absolutely. I wasn't sure what normal human beings were like. My siblings were all fairly normal, but they all had friends and things like that I didn't have. It wasn't until I started doing meth that I started having a social group, you know, and then my sister started to call it my entourage. She was like, you always have an entourage everywhere you go, you know, and there was just people I was trying to keep and make happy and keep happy, you know, because I had spent so much of my life without that.
Yeah. Wow. That's how I'm trying to think how to formulate the question, but like growing up and seeing, because you notice how it affects like your family and the people close to you, but how like seeing other people, like friends at school and people on the outside, like, because you're not living this normal life. Your normal is substances. And
Yeah.
so how was it just going through everyday life, seeing normal people function when your normal wasn't that? And it's not like you experienced a normal life and then you went to addiction. Like your normal, like it's just like a 5-year-old growing up. Like whatever that 5-year-old experiences as they're growing up, that is their normal. And so
Yeah.
so how was it seeing like true normal on the outside with your normal being this substance use?
You know, I thought a lot of people were just crazy, you know? I thought, you know, being that I didn't have a big social group and the likes, I kept everybody that got close to me, I kept them as close to me as humanly possible. And I did a lot to make sure that people wouldn't be upset and leave my life, because there was no telling when the next person would come into my life, you know? And then I would see people fighting and arguing with each other, and I would think, well, that's a terrible way to keep somebody in your life, you know? And it got to the point where I almost had no fight. And looking at it now, I wish I had a little bit more gumption than that, you know? I wish I had a little bit more. I let a lot of people do a lot of things that I would never tolerate, never stand for now. Just to keep them in my life because it was so rare. And I almost resent not knowing what normal should have looked like. But that being said, I don't know if I could have functioned normally, because I'm still not sure to this day if I'm going to get a hang of this functioning normally.
Yeah. So when now transitioning into like sobriety and recovery, what was the, because your normal is this substance. So it's what I find to be the because it's different. It's like your story is so much different than other addicts, because like for me, I came from having a normal life growing up, and then so as I was in addiction, I remembered like, well, this is what I was used to, and this is what I want to go back to. And now even in recovery, like part of the I guess you could say the painful part of recovery is trying to go back to normalcy with certain people, but them not being ready to go back to that because of what I did in addiction. But for you didn't have that normal space, and so you're going to a completely unknown like
Exactly.
world. And so like I know what it's like for like people who have had normal and now they're trying to readjust to go back to what they were used to. What was first, like, because I know for me, and it's the same for everybody else, one day you wake up and you're like, man, this isn't who I am. Like I never wanted this for my life. Like I never did this. I never thought when I was doing everything that I was going to wake up as a drug addict. So, but you can't have that because your whole life has been. So what was that point where you were like, what's happening, and this isn't normal, what's going on, and I need to make a change? What was that point?
When I realized
You cut out. We can't. Oh, you muted yourself. There we go. Talk now.
apologize.
There we go.
I apologize.
So what you realized.
when I realized that I couldn't walk down the street and see a police officer without wanting to jump into a bush, I figured, this is probably not normal as I should exist,
Yeah.
I had a lot of friends at one time that were police officers, and when they stopped, when they stopped hanging around, I got a little nervous, but it seemed like I don't know. And rehab didn't happen to me out of an aha moment. I didn't go, I could have a better life. Aha. I went to help somebody who was one of my plugs at the time. I went to help her pack up her belongings. And I asked her where we were going to take her stuff. And she said, oh, probably just a storage. And I thought, oh, well, that's sad. You lost your place. And she said, well, I didn't really lose my place. I'm going to. That's she goes, well,
you sound like
who can tell me that this is a bad idea and I should.
Here, go back real quick because you like broke up a little bit. She said she was going to where?
To rehab.
Okay.
And she said, do you want to go with me? And I thought, well, that's ridiculous. Nobody wants to
and
go
this
to
was your
rehab.
plug. And this was your plug.
Yeah. Yeah. And for her to express to me that I needed to consider it, it was a hefty slap in the face.
Yeah.
But I told her, I said, let me call and make sure that I can go with you. But meanwhile, I was calling, trying to find anybody to tell me that, I was good. I didn't need to go. It would be fine,
Yeah.
So
of course.
For all days of people to not answer the phone, that day happened to be the day. And I couldn't get any secondary encouragement. I couldn't get any, you're fine. I couldn't get any, no, that's a bad idea. You shouldn't go. As a matter of fact, the one person who did answer their phone went, yeah, at least then you don't have to worry about paying rent for a month.
Wow. So as you began to make that transition and you ended up going to rehab and starting to make that transition into a normal life for most people, but now this like totally foreign concept basically to you, like how did that feel? Like it had to have brought out more anxiety and just like uncomfortableness.
Absolutely. The first day I knew, the first few days of rehab, I figured, well, this is just temporary and I'll get out. And when I get out, everybody will be satisfied that I tried. And I won't have anything to prove to anybody else,
Yeah.
But on about day 5, people at the rehab were talking to me, and they had really taken an interest in who I was as a person. And then it occurred to me that I don't know who I am as a person. I don't know my favorite color. I don't know. I don't know what genre of music I like. I know that I can write music. I've written a couple songs, but I don't know if I even like them, Yeah. I couldn't pick a meal out if somebody asked me what I wanted for birthday dinner because I have no idea what I like.
Wow.
And to not have any idea of who you are as a person, to have no identity, is just a really jarring realization.
I can just imagine.
And I think man, because that, like, I can't even wrap my mind around that. Like, it's because, like you said, you didn't even know your favorite color. Like
I'm still not sure.
That's
It's orange or
one of
purple,
the
but
black and yellow is a pretty good color. Go Pittsburgh.
Orange and purple are good too. You pick good one. Orange and purple is good one.
But like I think about that and I think that's the, like when you said that, that's the thing that popped right out to me, because as a kid, like that's one of the first things that we begin to like really take on is like, oh, green is my favorite color, purple is my favorite color. And then you see kids wearing their favorite color all the time, or like, oh, the blue crayon's my favorite crayon because that's my favorite color. Like, and so like the fact that you didn't even know that, like when you were coming out of this, like because you never experienced what a normal like child experienced. It was, and so like everything had to seem so foreign, like someone coming from a completely different country coming into the United States, like, but even then you're still set back even behind that, because even they have this concept of, oh, my favorite color is this, like, and it's like it's a completely different mindset, because like, and everybody knows in addiction, like the one thing that's on your mind is the addiction. Like, and so when you're at this young age in addiction, that doesn't change because your mind is still on this substance. And so I can't even imagine going, like the things I did as a child. What's that?
I said, and it was a whole different feeling too, because it wasn't like I knew what I wanted, and what I wanted was the source of this addiction. It was, if I didn't take my medication, I felt like I was dying, and the only thing that would make me feel better, you know.
And I can see how like your mother could do that. I can't see how she could do that, but get you to think that I have this, and it, now that I've been in addiction, Munchausen syndrome seems like I totally understand the mindset now, because like before addiction, I would always think, well, how can you make a kid like think that they're sick? But now that I know how addiction works and I know how withdrawal looks, like, of course you can make them think they're sick, because you hold off, you're keeping the medicine from them so that they feel sick. So then they're like, I feel sick, and you're like, see, I told you, you feel sick, you need this medicine. But really, the feeling that you're feeling isn't sick. You're withdrawing from this medicine that the person is willingly holding away from you.
Yeah.
And it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. Like, and so I can't even imagine what you had to go through growing up with. Like, I know what it was like for just the 6 months that I was addicted, but to grow up and then not even know that you're addicted, and you think this feeling is because I'm sick, like it's just, it breaks my heart. So
I was very careful never to develop a prejudice against my mother, though, because now that I've been an adult, there comes a time where even if you're spoon-fed, there comes a time where you sit down at your own table, you know?
Yeah.
And when I started doing methamphetamine, even though it was with her suggestion, it wasn't with her putting a gun to my head.
Absolutely.
And when I learned how manipulative I could be for the sake of my addiction, it put my mom's journey right into place for me. Absolutely. Like I understood right away how a person could convince themselves that something like that was okay.
Absolutely. I
And-
was actually talking to someone about this, not like with drugs, but we all know what's going on with P. Diddy right now. And then you have the big question: was Justin Bieber one of the victims? And so me and someone were talking about that, and he was like, so Justin Bieber has this song where he's talking about how lonely he is, and he wishes that somebody would just listen to him, and that he's in this crowded room, but he still feels lonely. And I'm like, you can hear the heartbreak in his words, and I'm like, you can't even begin to imagine. Like, there's a video of him and P. Diddy, and P. Diddy's like, yeah, I have him for 48 hours. What we're gonna do, we can't disclose, but it's something that all 15-year-old boys dreams. Like, bro, what can't you disclose? That, like, and so I can't even imagine the things that Justin Bieber had to experience. There's even Howard Stern was interviewing Usher, and Usher was saying the things that he had to see at 13 were, he was put in positions at 13 because of P. Diddy that, like, he shouldn't have been in. And so like, we were talking about this situation with Justin Bieber, and this guy was like, well, Justin Bieber hurt a lot of people. And I was like, yes, he may have hurt a lot of people, but part of it is because of what he went through as a kid with P. Diddy. And I said it doesn't excuse what he did. And I said, because, and coming to what you said, like, yes, your mother put you through this, but eventually there was that time where you had to make your own decisions. And I'm like, yes, Justin Bieber went through this, but does that excuse what he did? Absolutely not. The way he hurt people, because he's still, even though more than likely he was a victim of P. Diddy's, he still made a conscious decision that I'm going to hurt people as well. And so I think when you said that, I thought about that there does come a time where no matter how much we've been hurt, we have a choice now. I heard someone say, you mentioned Batman and Joker. Like, I heard someone say, all superheroes and supervillains have the same backstory, but they just chose to deal with it different. And so,
and it's also how we choose to look at them.
Absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
Because
Thanos. Some people think Thanos was doing a good thing.
Exactly. When we live a comfortable life, we look at somebody who's suffering and we think they're a villain. But when we're suffering too, we look at them as our hero. And it's all a matter of perspective.
Absolutely.
It's a 6 or a 9, but nobody's wrong, you know?
Absolutely.
And
we need to, before we finish this, just want to tell people we have been, I have been talking with Missffit, and you may more than likely see her more, because and just from the time you've been on this show, like, I think I like absolutely what we've been talking about, but like she could be a third like host, so like it's awesome. So you're gonna see her more, you're gonna hear more of her story, and there's so much more that like can be dove into. So just know that, everybody, that this could go a lot deeper into the rabbit hole. But as we come to a close, with everything that you went through, and like going through the addiction, now where you are, how has what you've been through made you into the person you are today? And who is Missffit today, September 25th, 2024?
Today I'm somebody who has a purpose. Today I'm somebody who has a plan and a purpose. And I know that there are a lot of people like me, and I know that there are a lot of people who are not necessarily like me, that have been through addiction in a form or another, and they all are still people. They're all still my brothers. They're all still my sisters. They're all hurting. They're all hurting themselves. They're all hurting each other. We need to find common ground to stand on. And that has become my purpose, to bring people together, not tear people apart.
I love that we need to come together and not tear people apart. Because how many times do we tear people apart as a society? We're quick to tear people apart. How many times do you see like this P. Diddy thing? How many people are happy to see that he's falling? Like even though he has done everything that people are saying, and we don't know, you're innocent until proven guilty, but let's say that he has done everything that people are accusing him of. There is still a part of me that like hurts for him, because that came from somewhere. Like everybody's.
They say that hurt people.
Absolutely.
And so you've got to wonder where that hurt comes from.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's that. I was reading an article and it said, like, if you think Puff Daddy is the top of the pyramid, you're out of your mind. Like,
Absolutely.
like there are people above him who got him where he is, and unfortunately they were done with Puff Daddy, and now he's being thrown to the wolves.
Absolutely.
And so it's like it's just like, but what would settle all that, like you said, if we work to like help each other, build each other up rather than tear each other down. Like how many people are happy when they hear someone got arrested or someone got fired or someone got a demotion, and then they get pissed when, like, oh, I got a promotion. What? You got a promotion?
Yeah, you.
For what? Don't be happy I'm coming up. Don't be happy I'm coming up. Okay. I see how it is. Like, so
yeah.
In closing, what is I'm real big on learning from the experiences that we go through, because what good is the experience if we don't take anything away from it? And every day I'm trying to be a better version of who I was yesterday. I may not be perfect at it, but I'm working to be a better version of who I was yesterday. And so what is one thing that you have learned that you want to share with the audience, that you've learned just through this, not just your recovery, but through your addiction too, and that you hold on to on the other side?
As long as there's a tomorrow, there's something you can do with it.
That's powerful. As long as there's the tomorrow, there's something you can do with it. That stops procrastination and everything.
Yeah, it does.
That was good. We need to end on that. That as long as there is tomorrow, there's something you can do with it. Remember that, people. And again, like we said, thank you for that, Missffit. Thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for being willing, and like, it's just what you experienced and what you're bringing out on the other side. Like, a lot of people, what you went through would shut down, but you're taking it and you're using it, and you're making, and I love saying this, like, you're bringing beauty from the ashes, like. And so I think what you're doing and the vision you have is amazing, and like, it's just some place like home. Like, it's that
Yes.
it's home is where the heart is, and it's someplace like home. Like it all works. And so I just want I want to thank you for coming on. And like we said, everybody, you'll be seeing more of her. We'll work it out where she'll be on interviewing people, and I just hearing everything about her, and I think she'd be perfect for helping us out in this. And so and then just collabing and teaming up, and no problem. It was an honor. Scorpio, do you have anything to say?
I think that it was a pleasure meeting you. I think that everything happens for a reason, and I think that, you know, your story matches and your message matches exactly why we started the podcast to a T.
Thank
You know, we started the podcast exactly for what message you're trying to send out there. You know, to a complete message on, you know, fighting, not giving up, going through such a hard struggle. I mean, like Preacher said, most people would have been gave up, been, throw the towel, I'm done. And you have gone above expectations and continuously fight strong because you know that, you had to change and you wanted to change and you wanted to help people. And that's exactly what me and him wanted to do. We saw that much negative shit in the world and all the negative things we did, and we were like, whoa, we have to change this. Absolutely. So let's start putting more positive shit back out there, and on the way, let's start helping some of the people that we left behind. And that's what we've been doing, and we're hoping that in the podcast we still do that. So if we don't change, we're not trying to change millions. If we change millions, great. If we just change one, just one, we'll take it.
I've always said, because for years I wanted, like when I was a kid, I used to sit in my room and think of like, when I get older, I want to help people. And then I get older and I started working with the homeless population, started working with students, and became a student pastor and started helping people. And so like I think for so long, and I'm just starting to, like, it's easy to forgive other people for me, but I think what I'm working through right now is being able to forgive myself, because for so many years, I wanted to do nothing but help people. And then for this block of time of my life, like all I did was destroy lives. And so I, like, now where I sit right now, I'm like, I was part of the problem, but now I have a chance to be part of the solution.
And you are so much for putting this together, you guys. I've been watching every episode, and you don't know what an impact you're making.
We're trying. It was the same thing for me. I wanted to help people. I became a phlebotomist. I got into electrocardiogram. I wanted to do like, stuff to help people. And then, just like Preacher, I fell into a really dark place. And then really, while we were down there together, we started to see like, wow, like these, and we were judgy too. Preacher was judgy. He was calling people crackheads right along with me, like, and then we realized, wait a minute,
calling people crackheads while I was smoking crack. Look at this crackhead.
I was like, wait a minute, where's those people? Oh, fuck.
Oh no, that's a reflection.
Look at this crack. Yo, give me a hit real quick.
We're over here calling people crackheads, and then we're like, wait a minute.
And we did too, like just because they didn't have a car, and we're sitting in a car. We're sitting in a car smoking crack as they're walking down the street stumbling. And we're like, look at them. No loser. If you didn't have a car, that would be you.
Basically. And then you realize, we're just we're no better. And then it
Not at
kind
all.
of realized, then we started to meet people. We started to hear their stories, and they were like just people that just got lost. And just
Absolutely.
because, and I remember telling Preacher this, and I stand by it. Just because somebody stumbles and they fall, you know, that don't mean they lost forever. It just means they just kind of lost their way. No one's lost forever. It may take them a minute to get back on track. It may take them a minute to find their way. But if you have somebody that stands by you, or you have somebody that's not going to give up on you, or you have the willpower to keep going forward, like you, Misfit, you'd be surprised how far you go. So I think you ended
Well,
up
you
right
see,
where.
and that's the thing. Like it takes somebody. I think the people that stay where they are the people that nobody is willing to go and give them a hand to get up. And so they're sitting here, and I, like you said, all it takes is for somebody to come alongside them and help them. Like, and so I think that's why it's important for people who are listening. If you haven't been in addiction and you know someone who is, don't reject them. Like, don't push them
Right.
away.
It's never right to shut somebody out. You may not know
Not at
what they're
all.
struggling with, but they're struggling.
Absolutely. And to, like, I know for me, part of me going deeper was rejection. And so then when I was rejected by people, that just pushed me even deeper. And so and what they didn't know is you rejecting me is only pushing me deeper into why you're rejecting me. Like, and now you get mad because I'm in this, but you not talking to me is pushing me deeper into this. Like, and so there's that. If you know somebody, don't push them away, don't close them out, don't box them out. Like, help them no matter what you have to do. Like, it may get dirty, but you have to think what what they're going through. Like, and granted, yes, there may be a time where you have to like distance yourself, but that doesn't mean you have to close them out either.
Exactly.
And then for people who may be in addiction, like it, like Missffit said, as long as there's a tomorrow, there's something you can do with it. Like, if you're still breathing, there's still a chance to get out. Like, I know there's a lot of people who are in addiction who are like, well, I have nothing left. Like, they've lost hope. There's hope. Like, look at us, we're out. And look, Missffit, for years, from 5 to what, 30, 37, 36. And so, and she got out, and she didn't even know what this normal life was, and she was able to come out. And so all you have to do is be able to be like, yo, I need help. No one can know you need help until you say I need help. And so there's help out there. You can, we always leave the email in the description below. And so if you're listening to this and you're like, yo, I need help, email us and we can point you into the right direction. So
absolutely.
Usually we kick the person off so we can finish the show, but because you're going to be part of Preacher's Corner, we won't kick you off. Well, until we're done with this. So we are so glad that everybody once again has joined us. Whenever you're watching this, whether this be the day after we post it, 10 years after we post it, no matter when you watch this, we are glad you watched it. And we love what we're doing, and we hope that you're being able to take something away from it. And like we say at the end of each show, if you know anybody, because not everybody is as lucky as we are to have gotten out. I heard of somebody, not going to say names or anything or how I know it, but I heard of someone who got an injury and they got addicted to opiates, and they died from fentanyl overdose 3 weeks after their 16th birthday. Terrible. And so not everybody makes it out like we do. And so sadly, some of those people nobody knows. Like, no one remembers who they are, and it's heartbreaking. And so one way that we want to help that out, and we want to remember, if you know anybody that has ever lost their life to addiction, please let us know, because we want to put their names up at the end of each show and just have it scroll so people can remember who they were and who they are. And so let us know either in the email in the description, or let us know in the comments below, and we'll throw their name up at the end of each show. And so we want to thank you again for watching. Go ahead, and if you haven't already, subscribe, like, hit the bell so that you can know when we upload a new video every Friday. Remember, 100 subscribers, we go live. And Missffit doesn't know. Missffit doesn't know what happens at 1,000.
At 1,000,
Scorpio, tell her.
You gotta
See
shave
this?
all that you gotta shave, or see it 1,000.
Oh, helping.
Okay.
I'm helping get watch.
At 1,000, these golden black locks go away. Good thing hair grows back. So help us get to 100. Help us get to 1,000. Help spread this word. We want everybody to know the dangers of addiction. We want this to be able to inspire, motivate, and help someone to be able to come out. So thank you. And also in the link below, you'll see, or the description below, you'll see a link to our swag shop. Go ahead, purchase some merch, some swag. This is what recovery looks like. Sobriety matters. Preacher's Corner. Support us. Wear it out. Look good. And it's getting cold. You need a hoodie. I mean, what better way? What better way to have a hoodie and be warm and support us? I mean, come on, like, serious. But that's all we have for today. Until the next episode, I'm gonna start saying that. I'm gonna feel like Dr. Dre all the time. Till the next episode. I mean, Missffit, you're in that area. You're around that area.
Yeah.
So I'm just bringing a little West Coast vibes to the next episode. But we love you all. Until next time, remember to take care of yourselves and each other. God bless.